I'm gonna play a game or make a parody, or maybe just a new video. It's Rivero.
Devlog. Wait, I didn't even have a name yet? It's been a while.
Success! No, thanks, Unity. The vine grapple. And I need to know how to freaking add a path to a terrain!
A lot has happened in terms of reality and over the game. One of the big things is I have moved. Well, I have to... Oh, I've got to take this off. Ta-da! It's so spacious in here. I also now have really good internet, which is awesome. Listen. I might be streaming again. Expect that soon. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know where to start with this video. So I guess we'll start with the title.
Forcing Trilite Out.
What I do in Unity is a lot of just learning how to create paths and recreating the project. Because Unity is dumb, or I'm just really stupid, but because Unity is dumb, I had to recreate the project a lot of times. Let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty of this, shall we? I finally learned how to make a freaking path! It requires the use of the universal rendering pipeline, which I have all but forgotten. Creating a URP in a pre-existing project came with complications, to put it simply. Thus began my first recreation of the project, the difference being you select this to use it in the project already. I needed URP available to learn more stuff that I haven't already, such as splat mapping, or world space UV, triplanar projection. I didn't even know what those words meant 5 months ago. Splat mapping is basically me painting the dirt into the grass. UV space unwrapping is where the texture is the same size regardless of the mesh size it's on. The triplanar shader is basically what makes the game know the difference between a wall and a floor. I myself need to know the difference between a floor and a ceiling, apparently.
The wall is dirt, the ceiling, yes. I could do the same thing with the ceiling.
I learned a lot of this from Polytoots, so I would recommend watching that to do what I did. To make these things, you need a shader. Go to Create, Shader, Universal Render Pipeline, and Lit Shader Graph. As a result, I was able to create this. Great. A whole nother aspect to Unity that I have to learn. I am done learning. I just want to create. I just followed the video, which resulted in my ability to paint dirt into grass. Now this is all well and good, except I had to combine the splat mapping and triplanar projection into one shader on my own. There's probably tutorials for this. I couldn't find any. This is what it looks like. And this was my reaction to completing it.
I've done it. It is the coolest thing ever. Look at this.
It also has a lot of adjustability, as you can see here. For example, I could make it so I could add vines to the walls the way I do the paths to the floor. I can also change or add any textures easily to make multiple types of paths. Some parameters are useful, others not so much. Also, I have these reference videos where I talk to myself so I remember what I did previously, and I love the confidence I have in them.
Basically, I've been working on some concept art. Concept art's a strong word for it, but I've been making characters.
Over this time period, I've been slowly creating concept art of characters, so here is that. I don't know if I'll ever actually get to use any of this concept art since I'm really bad at making 3D models, and it's an extremely time-consuming process that I don't enjoy. Just thought I'd show it off. This is what I finally ended up with, and it felt great to finally have something that looks exactly as I intended for it. Now that I've shown you my success and all the things I've learned, let's ruin that with grass. So I watched a Brackus tutorial for the grass, which was my first mistake. The video no longer gives you the project files, so I made my own. While creating it, there's an option to make the grass planes double-sided, and flipping the normals on the grass wasn't working in URP, which led me to recreate the project again with HDRP instead. What's the difference? I don't remember. I know I looked it up, and the only thing I can remember is that HDRP is for high-quality games, while URP is for, mobile, I think. I finished the shader, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't animating. Turns out it doesn't actually animate in scene view, even if you have the project played. That took me way too long to figure out. After all that, I was theoretically done, but when pasting the grass everywhere, the game became super laggy. I looked up so much stuff, and I'm sure there's a way to do it, but after all the time I spent on this, I am sick and tired of trying to create grass. I was constantly switching between URP and HDRP for different solutions. Did you know the landscape foliage tool doesn't actually even work in HDRP? What do? Apparently you just use the tree painter instead. There's also full-on coding grass somehow, I guess. Apparently you could even make grass out of particles? How does that even work? There's also something called draw calls, which would be just what I did, but make it all one mesh instead of the separate meshes everywhere. But that's a terrible idea because I'm the one who thought of it. And it also caused Maya to crash when I tried it. Call me lazy, because I didn't really fully attempt any of these things that I looked up. But to be honest, none of them even looked like how I wanted it to be. And so, the next reference video I have, which isn't a video, but it has a folder specifically for it. Number 7. I gave up on grass. So I went on to something that I thought would be easier. It wasn't. Making a tree. How bad could it be to make one stupid tree? I started with some simple house locations, and then made a simple tree shape. Great start! I wanted to make the tree efficiently because the whole grass thing gave me nightmares. I didn't want the mass amount of leaves to cause the game to lag. I started by following these tutorials to make the model, and a lot of them use Substance Painter or ZBrush, which I don't have. I spent a lot of time compensating in other ways. I created the 3D models in Maya, I guess I baked them somehow? I don't remember. You could import this into Substance Designer and go from there, I think? I don't remember. I should make more reference videos, evidently. There was complication after complication. Separating leaves and branches gave me a hard time because the separate tool didn't work after combining them for some reason. Green was seeping into the branches texture. When pasting the planes, the UV one got offset for some reason, so I had to fix all of them. And after all that, when I finally had the planes that looked 3D, the stems ended up looking black. All of this accumulation created this majesty. Okay, we've made some small progress and a lot of problems, but at the end of the day, we learned a lot. Now let's take what we've gotten and throw it all out! I've been learning Unreal Engine for the past month. With that little amount of time, I've already decided that it's time for me to move my project to that. From this point on, most of what I do results in success, which is a nice, needed change of pace. If you had a chance to change your pace. I needed a new level to work in. I was sick and tired of making a beautiful forest that wasn't beautiful at all, so I skipped on and moved to the next village, which is in a cave. I began making a blockout, which I got a lot of help and inspiration from this video here. I highly recommend if you're going into game design, especially level design. So here's a time lapse of the blockout phase that I created. Now that I had a place to play in, I began working on a simple UI system. I was planning to work on creating some items, and I knew I wanted the item selected to go in the middle of the health bar, so I decided to start with that. As of right now, I just have a key that makes you lose health and you don't actually die when you reach 0. But the visual works. Finally, it was time to create the items. And oh boy did I enjoy making them! Programming is definitely what I enjoy, and this is the moment I was reminded of that. I started with the vine grapple, making it a pickup item for now that appeared to the player. When shot, it would hit the nearest thing and send the player to it. Next, I made it so that there was a cursor for when you actually can and cannot grapple to things. After that, I added an elastic wire to act as the vine, then added 2 more, which looked really cool. Now, I can't really remember what I had problems with, but I have this text file that reads, "Cable components are dumb and they should feel bad. Setting width doesn't do anything. Can't set num of components. Can't do anything." All I know is that most of my problems were fixed by just setting the gravity scale to 0. Another tangent. Unreal's great, better than Unity from what I've experienced. But what the heck is wrong with the components panel? Watch this and tell me there isn't something wrong. Ordering things and moving components around is the most frustrating thing I've ever had to experience in this program, and I don't know why it has to be this difficult. Anyway, I added textures to the vine grapple as well as animations. Had to tweak it a bit to get it working, but after some time and effort, it was complete. I had so much fun making the first item that I moved right on to the second one, the gem shield. I've been told that there's no original ideas anymore, so keep that in mind when you see this concept art. I started off thinking I was going to make this gem a healing type item. Instead, I switched it up to making it something that can project fire, ice, and light. Here are the concepts I based it off of, and here's my concept art progression. Initially, I planned the player to hold the crystal. I couldn't find a comfortable way for it to be held though, and eventually had the idea of turning it into a shield. A shield. A shield that shoots fire, ice, and light. Yeah, I literally just created a combination of the Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time mirror shield. I can't escape it. If I can make this work, a shield that blocks, shoots fire, ice, and projects light, that's pretty freaking cool. And I'm up to the challenge. So I began to model the shield. I made a planks texture and eventually a gem texture. The rest I took from starter content materials in Unreal. Next, I set up the mechanics of spinning the shield to choose which gem to use, which was very satisfying. After that, I made an idle block animation. This brought up the issue of being able to use the walking animation while still having the block animation occur. I was able to fix this by using montage that allows separate animations to be played together. The block animation only affecting the upper body and the walking on the lower half. Side note, if you want to learn how to do all this stuff, looking up tutorials is honestly really easy with Unreal. It's all about knowing what to look up. I know when I looked up separating the animations, you have to create these slots, which was hard to find because the tutorials were out of date. Same thing happened with figuring out how to make the montage loop. Looking up questions within questions, like knowing where to add slots now, can get to be a little much, but if you bear with it, you'll make it through. And after all this effort, I decided I want to make it so the player could aim the shield when using it, since I was going to be using it as a projectile as well. This was complicated because I couldn't simply use the montage I previously created. Instead, there's something called an aim offset. For this, you have to create a single animation spot for every direction. Center, high, low, bottom left, bottom right, left, top left, top right, and added them to the aim offset. But wait! You have to select them like this and adjust the settings to be able to actually add them to the aim offset. For the base pose animation, I just have it set to the third person idle. Another issue. Math? Am I good at it? Yeah. No. I don't know. I am a being who doesn't do things the right way but gets the right answer regardless. To get the player to aim up and down, I just use the world camera rotation. I can't do this with the horizontal aiming though because the rotations vary. Starting in spawn location, facing forward is 0, left is positive, right is negative. Easy. However, if the player faces a different direction, then the numbers are all screwed up. So I need to combine the relative rotation and world rotation to make it so that the camera facing forward in the same direction as the player always results in 0, and left and right, or 90 degrees, negative and positive respectively. Still with me? I'm not. I've been following my reference videos and I don't even know what the heck's going on myself. I need an equation to compute the rotation, and I figured this out by creating multiple situations and computed what the equation would be that fits them all. Which my answer is still somehow not right because I had it inverted where the negative is positive and the positive is negative. Is it smart or stupid? You decide. I'm just chalking it up to being my own incompetence. The equation is literally just character rotation minus camera rotation equals the negative rotation that I need. Very complicated. Finally, I can move on to projectiles. But of course, I had some weird issues there as well. I hate being inexperienced. Basically, I was struggling with size. Even if the mesh of the fireball is a child of the collision, changing the size of the collision doesn't do anything, even though it shows that it does in the viewport of the blueprint. This works with parented objects like the shield, so I don't know if the colliders are an exception or something. It just caused a lot of unnecessary confusion, which I seem to be really prone to. I was so close. I was finishing the projectiles and ready to make this video, and then I lost everything. Okay, that's a bit of an overstatement, but I did lose quite a bit of stuff, actually. I had the project open, and later I needed to move my computer over to a friend's house for faster internet. I accidentally unplugged my computer cable instead of my monitor while I was shutting down, which corrupted a lot of stuff, as you can see here. Most of it was pretty easy to recover, but the most time-consuming thing was recreating the animations, because those were all lost. So, if you notice a slight change from what you saw of the gem shield and grapple, that's why. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Dun, 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 dun.
Get on with it.
Here's the gem shield in action. I used some projectiles from a particle pack because mine looked lame. There's ice, fire, and the projection of light. I still don't have any enemies yet, so I can't program the blocking or attacking with the vine grapple yet. But next on the list, I plan to make a sword and the first enemy of Trilite in the future. With that, you have seen everything that I've done. Is it a lot? Is it a little? It's been 6 months. Almost. So I don't really know. But I've still been trying to work on it while juggling hobbies, school, moving. Still gotta move stuff. You can see some boxes over there. And I'm sure a lot more will randomly come up. So please bear with me. And thank you very much for the support. Thank you.